This is Matthew McConaughey.
Natalie Portman.
James Patterson.
Michael Ian Black.
And you are listening to
Five Questions
with Dan
Schawbel.
Katherine, welcome to Five Questions.
Thank you for having me.
Why did you decide to pursue a career as an author, and what unique challenges of writing a children's book compared to a self-help book?
Well, children's books and my other books are so dramatically different, just in the audience, of course. Writing for adults is very different than writing for little kids, and the process is very different because, of course, you have illustrations, you get to be more creative and imaginative. So it's definitely a lighter experience, I would say. When it comes to being a writer, I would say that each subject matter that I have written about and choose to write about have really come from real life experiences that I have been introduced to or experienced or struggled with, that I felt like I couldn't be the only person experiencing them. And I wanted to write a book about them because I wanted to gather as much information as possible and share that information with the hope that someone feels that a little bit less alone in their journey, or feels that they can resonate with someone's story in a book that I write. So whether it's about forgiveness or if it's about sisterhood, these are all subjects that have affected me and made me who I am today, and are ones that I'm really passionate about and love talking about and spreading awareness about, because they have been big subjects in my life, as have my other book subjects. And I love being able to talk about them.
Well, you took my second question, but I do see how they blend together. What is that relationship like working with, an illustrator when it comes to children's books versus just writing?
I mean, the relationship is definitely a back and forth one, of being able to give your advice, give your recommendations, and hearing of course, the illustrator's advice as well. And I think Lucy Fleming did such an incredible job drawing these beautifully whimsical and dreamy pictures. And I definitely went into the experience and writing the book with an idea of, what I kind of wanted the book to look like, as far as making certain things very similar to how my sister and I were growing up, making the rooms very similar, our interests very similar. And then the stuffies that are in the book are really based off of the stuffed animals my daughter Lila was given when she was born, and the ones that she really loved. So I had a lot of, ideas in my head, and being able to work with a collaborator like Lucy was really amazing, because she was open to all of my suggestions and also my vision that I had going into the book, and my notes for kind of each page that I had jotted down along the way of writing the book. So it was a collaborative effort for sure. And one that I think maybe she would say required a lot of patience, because I was definitely specific about a lot of it, but I think she ended up doing such a beautiful job. And I think that these pictures are really just so dreamy, which is perfect for a bedtime story.
Yeah, I can imagine it being interesting. It's like, oh, you want to write this children's book? Well, we're going to pair you with this illustrator, and you're going to have to it's almost like dating someone new, right?
Totally.
You're going to have to get to know them. And I'm sure over the course of, maybe a chapter or just several months, it got a little bit easier, because she got a sense of what you were looking for and all your specifications. And she maybe shared some ideas with you that you liked. So it takes time to kind of adjust to that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also, like, coming into the experience, being open and also respectful of both sides' opinions and tips and tricks in the whole thing. Of course, she's an expert in illustrations. So I definitely wanted her to kind of be able to be the expert, and for me to be able to share, some kind of specifics that I had along the way, or coming into it, as far as like what my sister and I looked like growing up, or what our hair colors were, those kinds of things, or what our interests were to decorate the rooms. But she definitely, took the info that I gave her and ran with it and did an incredible job.
How would you describe the way in which your parents raised you? And have you replicated that parenting style or a similar style with your children?
Well, my oldest daughter is 2.5 and my youngest is 8 months. So I would say that I would love to be able to replicate a lot of, the parenting styles that my parents had with us 4 kids growing up, because I think that they were such amazing parents to us and still are to this day. And I would say that if I had to describe their parenting style, I would say fun, private, clear, and communicative and adventurous. I would say like all of those words. My mom and my dad always, made us kids feel like they were having the most fun time being with us and setting up experiences for us. And we always just had a great time as a family. And I think that's such a gift, because now as an adult, spending time with your family, you really have to make an effort and plan things, organize things, because you don't all live in the same house anymore. And I think that it's a testament to my parents' parenting style that the 4 of us kids are so close and that we want to see each other and spend so much time together and do so much together because we really enjoy each other's company. And I think that that's just because of how they parented us. And they did such a great job, because we all consider ourselves to be best friends and love each other and care about each other and do so much together. And so as an adult now, to be able to do so much with my siblings is such a huge gift. And I know that it's more rare than it is common for a lot of people. And so I feel really blessed by that. And I think my husband and I really hope to do that same thing with our kids.
It's crazy because I'm getting married this year, actually. And everyone's told me, oh, your parents and her parents, the probability of them getting along is like 5%, right? And they get along, and I'm like, oh, like I'm confused. I'm like, why wouldn't they get along, right? And you just hear, I mean, even on TikTok, like you swipe a few times and you start to hear like all these children, once they hit a certain age, they drop their parents when they're like teenagers or college graduates. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of issues we have from a family dynamic. So that's why I think kind of your book and messages are so relevant now, is because it at least seems like through social media that families might be broken up a little bit more than they did. And there's more complications. And so it's like kind of getting back to what's really important is those relationships.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that I don't actually have TikTok, but I know that there's a lot of that kind
You're
of
probably better off.
I know. I don't need it in my life, but I think that there's a lot of dialogue about like, distancing yourself from your parents or doing things, like what you were saying, dropping your parents, whatever that looks like. And I have to say that I was raised with the idea that that's like just, I don't know if it's a generational thing, but just like my friends, even like it was never communicated to any of us that was even an option. And, I think everybody, some people have very challenging relationships with their parents and with their siblings. And I totally understand that and respect that. And I think that as you get older and you also get more confident and comfortable with instilling boundaries in the dynamics of your relationships with family, that's super important. And if you have certain people in your life who don't respect your boundaries, being able to, distance yourself or do what works for you, of course, is totally understandable and valid. And I also think that family is just so important, and being able to work at that relationship and, try as hard as you can is also super vital to life in general. So I would encourage people to do that.
The saying that my mom always says is like, you can choose your friends, but not your family.
Yes, definitely. You choose your friends and not your family, for sure. And also I will say that, like, since talking about the subject of sisters with this children's book, and also seeing that like not everybody has the gift of having a sister, and that some people also have very challenged relationships with their siblings and with their sisters. And I understand that. And so I think a lot of people have found their kind of chosen family as you've gotten older. A lot of people come from very challenging family situations. So the idea that we can, go through life and choose our friends who we might feel like are our family is also a huge gift. Mm-hmm. And if your child doesn't have a sibling, or if they don't have a sister and they find that in a cousin, or they find that in a friend or a parent or an uncle, aunt, whatever that looks like, just being able to really nurture and cultivate those special relationships at an early stage is so important.
Absolutely. And I'm an only child. So
Oh yeah. So you get it.
My close friends are part of my family. So everything you
Exactly.
said is actually right on. And then speaking of your book, Goodnight Sister, what can this teach siblings or anyone else about forming better relationships?
I think just the idea that it's such a huge gift to be able to have a relationship, whatever that looks like, if it's a sibling, a cousin, a friend, whatever, to be able to have that person in your life from a very early on stage that you can turn to when you need to feel strong or when you need to feel brave and you maybe are doubting yourself or you're scared. The ability to turn to somebody and get that confidence, get that bravery, and get that support and love is such a huge gift and so important. And I was lucky enough to have that in my sister growing up, and I still have that with her. And so that's why this book is celebrating sisterhood, because for me personally, I found that with my sister. But it doesn't matter if that's with your sibling or, with somebody else, just being able to have a person that you feel like is the one that you can turn to in any given moment as a child and as an adult is such a huge gift and so important.
Absolutely. And what's your best piece of career advice?
I would say don't pay attention to the haters. Just you do you. It's I think with social media and just life in general, we can get so caught up in hearing all of the noise. And I think both of my parents gave me the advice of just focusing on yourself and tuning out the negativity or the chatter around you was such a big and important piece of advice, because you maintain your focus on what you're focused on, what you want to do, where your passions are, and accomplishing what you want to accomplish. And I think that that's super important as we get older, and also as we have different experiences in life, is, if you're good with who you are, if you know who you are, if you have a good group of people around you, and you have a good relationship with yourself and with God or whoever you believe in, then you're good at the end of the day.
Yeah, and a lot of people, this is just maybe their perception of how they view you, right? And they don't hang out with you on a daily basis, right? They're not
Exactly.
going to restaurants, they're not babysitting your kids or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So they're very detached from your reality and what you're going through and who you are. They're just saying it because maybe they're, jealous, or they're unhappy with their lives, or whatever other reasons there are. So if you start reading all of that criticism, it's not even real.
Yeah, for sure. And I think to just and that's in life in general, whether it's, chatter on a football field, if it's chatter in a school, if it's chatter on social media, or, in life between friendship groups, whatever that looks like. I think it's just always important to know that, of course, you're human. So you can have things that might distract you from where you're going, but put your blinders on and just keep focused on where you're going and where you want to go. And then you'll be able to get there.
Well, that's great advice. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.